So let's review business resilience and how to achieve that through modular application development. To do so, let's go back in time. So here's a picture of a unit I led back in 1993 at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey. And we had the mission to rebuild all of the comm and computer infrastructure for Southeast NATO. This was to allow a faster response time to threats and to mission changes. But it was very difficult, as you can imagine, because of the complexity for gaining approvals, the requirement gathering process, the resources required, the project planning process, the time required for each project, and developing the skills to do this. And again, keeping a team who's motivated and enabled to be able to do it. And all of these complexities, though, limit an organization's ability to change, and it thus lowers their resiliency. So what's happening today in business? Gartner defines a term called composable business, which is the ability to rapidly react to changing market conditions or even internal conditions. There may be new competitive threats. There may be new opportunities available based on new technologies or ideas. There may be evolving customer demands or employee considerations that must be met. All of this has been notably accelerated due to COVID. But to have composable business, to be able to rapidly reorganize your business, you need to have an IT that is also rapidly recomposable. This starts perhaps with modular infrastructure based probably on Kubernetes and modular development, which we're going to call composable application development. And then last, a rapid ability to recompose both the business and the technology that supports it. This will lead to business resiliency, or the ability to react to market pressures. A good Gartner quote is, by 2023, organizations that have adopted a composable approach will outpace their competition by 80% in their ability to implement new features. From a architecture point of view, we can look at the history of computing and see how it has naturally evolved or has progressively evolved to a vision of fully modular applications. If you go back into the 70s and earlier, we built applications as monoliths with both the front-end code, the GUI, and the back-end code all in one application. By the 2000s, we began to break apart front-end code from back-end code. And the reasons were very important to point out. There were three main reasons. One was skills and tools. The idea that front-end developers were very different from back-end developers. They had different skills and would use different tools to do it. The second could be language. The front-end code was developed perhaps in JavaScript, while the back-end code was written in Java. And the third was release cycles. Front-end developers may release new code every hour, while back-end developers might release code every month. By breaking apart the code, it could allow all of that flexibility. By the 2010s, we were breaking up the backend into microservices. Why were we doing that? Same three reasons. We would use different skills. One microservice may require a specialty in one specific area, where a different microservice may need different skilled engineers. The other reason was the languages. Different microservices may use different languages that are more particular to what they're doing. One application could be a very highly secure environment. Another one may be very focused on data manipulation. And the third was release cycles. The idea that if a specific microservice needed to be updated, the team responsible could update that and redeploy it without coordination with the other microservices or their teams. What's happening or available to happen now is not only can you break up the back end into microservices, but you can break up the front end to micro front end. And we're going to see that those can be combined together into what are called packaged business capabilities. So looking at that history of computing again, but in a different way, back in the 2000s, we were building applications as monoliths. So your CRM system, your order management system, whether or not they were SaaS or on-premise applications, they were independent from each other, but they would have an API interface, and you could integrate and talk between applications through an ESB or an enterprise service bus. By the 2010s, those microservices could each have embedded into them integration or enterprise integration patterns, and they could integrate together. But now in the 2020s, what's available is to build packaged business capabilities. An example of a packaged business capability is your authentication layer. Perhaps your organization uses Okta for your authentication layer. So you have your login screen and the processes behind that. You have your account creation, your account password or your password recovery, and even your user profile editing screen, all as one packaged business capability. What's nice about that packaged business capability is it allows you to rapidly build an app by assembling an application, as shown here with a set of 7 different PBCs, but also the fact that if there's a bug in a PBC, you only have to update the PBC and redeploy it. What's even better is that PBC could be reused across multiple applications. If your enterprise has 1,000 applications, you may use the exact same PBC for authentication across all of them. And even better, now when you need to make an update to that PBC, if you make it, you only have to update one PBC that is then redistributed to all those different applications, streamlining your maintenance and support. So assembling PBCs is visually perhaps like this, where you might have page templates, content, you might have micro front ends, data. There may be workflow processes behind these. Each PBC could contain both the GUI and logic behind it. And a very nice idea about this is the ability to build an application as an MVP. As we talked back about Turkey and the complexities we had there, defining all the requirements needed for a complex application oftentimes kills the project because it's difficult to gather all the requirements and get approval or agreement with all the different stakeholders involved. We've actually seen, at Entando, we've seen companies that had very large applications that they were trying to build and were never, over multiple years, ever able to get everybody to agree. And so they were never able to modernize specific applications. When we proposed to them using composable apps, the idea of an MVP, they suddenly were able to quickly build an application within a couple months and make it available. And then they were able to start thinking about what PBCs they would add to that. So in an example here, you would use the Entando app builder. You would point at the Entando hub. That's the repository where you store your PBCs, and you can build your app. And as discussed, you would start with an MVP, get everybody's approval that that's really what you wanted, and then begin to add additional PBCs over time. Another good Gartner quote is, by 2026, integrated application composition platform products, or a platform that allows you to build composable apps and maintain them, will emerge and dominate at least 65% of new business initiatives. This leads us into the next major impact to the industry, which is based around the digital workplace. So there are shifts in the work environment. Employees who have in the past worked full-time in the office, now post-COVID, are starting to look at what their desires are, or companies are looking at the desire of the employees. And in a recent Gartner survey, 14% of those employees want to return to the office full-time, but 19% have stated they prefer to never work in the office. And the majority expect the best of both worlds. This is why Gartner is also proposing a need to look at the digital workplace. And I'm going to discuss how composable apps can support this idea. There are several ideas available for building new systems that help both the productivity of individuals and support the retention in this new environment. And we'll describe a few of them. So the first is engagement hubs, or we can use the term a portal, microportal. So first, what's the definition of portal? A portal is an application, oftentimes with both an anonymous service or content and something specific to you or role-based content after you log in. The best example is a banking portal. If you're not logged in, you can see all the content around the bank and information. Once you log in, you get little applications that are specific to you. Even more interesting is there might be, depending on how it was built, a third role, which is someone who's a banker can log into that portal and actually see multiple accounts. So role-based content. Microportals are a new definition, which is the idea of thinking about a portal, but instead of trying to build a portal that has all the features that you could have and thinking of a portal as a single gateway into these multiple apps, a microportal is a subset, which is oftentimes a limited number of users, perhaps a partner portal, or a limited time that it is going to be used. That could be for a specific project team. Perhaps Boeing is about to build the next aircraft. It's a 5-year project, and they need a microportal set up for that team to develop that project. Or it's focused set of features. The example is employee onboarding. It's for one specific feature, the employees use it for that, and then they're done. So microportals have become very popular. Obviously web-based, they allow great flexibility in how employees use them, but they help the enterprise really increase productivity for different users in their ecosystem. Work hubs is another. So a large group of products that surround this is the modernization of process automation. So legacy BPM systems are being upgraded now, but there is a risk in doing them, and they're oftentimes very expensive. So something that has recently come out is the concept of an experience overlay technology. That's where you build, perhaps like a microportal, but it is a new user interface that then connects into the existing APIs of the existing legacy BPM system. By doing this, you have a faster way to get an improvement of the GUI. It's much, much lower cost than completely replacing your BPM system. And it greatly lowers the risk because you can now just build the GUI and use all of that existing workflow processes that have been defined. This also gives an additional benefit, which is a front-end and back-end separation, or what's called the strangler fig pattern. The great thing about that is now your users are using the GUI or the UX layer, and step by step the back-end can be replaced until all of it is completely modernized, and then you move forward and shut off the old system. Another is the business role hub, or dashboards and control systems is a specific example. So this is oftentimes a fast access to visual data, but also can add the ability to input commands back into systems. These could be IoT systems. This could also be considered an industrial data ops application, where you're taking multiple bits of data from the past and bringing it up quickly into a user interface where people can view data as well as make commands based on that. Thinking of an application composition platform in this area then can also be equated to a platform of unifying disparate systems into a central dashboard or control system. Composable applications using modular components is a benefit here for that reason, that it's multiple backends. A few backends could be developed first to give you an MVP, and then additional features can be added over time or updated over time. So modular applications are very popular in this realm as well. So as a summary, the vision is to build a composable business, and how to do it is through composable IT. Employee considerations are very important now, and digital workplaces have become very popular. So what we are advising companies is to start with an MVP and then expand or update that MVP with additional modules, and always focusing on a concept called digital dexterity. So as we build this, you will end up building more and more solution in your catalog, and ultimately in the end, streamline application development maintenance. And with that, thank you. And if you'd like to see more, visit Entando.com.